Hey, it's Pastor David. I'm here with our Thursday at 3 update, and today, a celebration, a reality, and a challenge. But first, let's look at our financial report through the end of October. We just met on Sunday with the finance team, and we always review a number of documents, including this overview, which you'll see in front of you. Year-to-date actual through October. And the top two lines, of course, are our pledged and unpledged dollars. That's the offering plate. And at this point, our pledges are over budget in giving, and our unpledged is under. And so you'll see there that along with other revenues, we are behind in revenue about $100,000, 2% unfavorable year to date. Other revenues, of course, being things like money we pay for mission trips or preschool tuition or dance studio or brain fitness, those kind of things. All that gets added in to make sure that we're accounting for everything and transparent about that. So through the month of October, we are about $100,000 behind in income of a $4.6 million budget, about 2%. Then you'll see below it, underneath it, the expenses. Gracious Host, Passionate Seekers, Vibrant Family, Christ-like Servants, of course, are the area groupings of ministries that do ministry in alignment with our vision. Be vibrant family built on God's grace, passionate about the Word of God, living and serving in the image of Christ. That's what it looks like when we're going to be what we want to be. And we have the leaders of all those ministries gather and be a part of a team that runs that part of the church. And then underneath that, you'll see, clergy and benefits, admin, staffing, all of that kind of comes together. And what I want you to notice that there's only one area that is over budget in spending. Everybody else, the entire budget, we are underspending our budget. The one area is the Christ-like servants, and it's over by 56,000. And that comes down to timing. That is not just an overspend. Our Anua ministry just paid for another cycle in the fall tuition for the young adults that we support. And that came in a different timing than we expected. So that threw the expense out of line, but they are in no way overspending. They monitor that very closely. They put back into the budget what they draw out and so forth. And so it's an in and out, and the timing just hit that way this time. But so what I want you to hear is we're underspending our budget. We were supposed to have spent at this point 4.9, and we've spent a little over 4.6. So we're about $200,000, $230,000 underspending the budget. Now you're sharp, and I know you've caught this, which is how is it that we expected to be at 4.6 in income and 4.9 in expenses for a net loss, a budgeted net loss at this point in the year, end of October, of $270,000. Well, that's what happens in the church world is the budget isn't always consistent with our expenses and our income. We start off high and we go up to Easter, and we kind of peak, and then we in attendance, and then we come down all the way down to about October, and then we begin to build again towards Christmas. That's attendance, and that's kind of where giving goes. But our expenses follow a different kind of rhythm, which a lot of our expenses happening in the summer when we do the youth ministries and we have the mission trips, and we have children's camps and vacation Bible school. So the summer is a heavy expense season with a low income, and this kind of works that way. We expected to be at this point $270,000 in the red through the end of October. We were only $133,000 in the red. So that's a celebration in terms of we're about $137,000 ahead of where we thought we would be at this point. Obviously, we're going to need to come from the end of October to the beginning of January, making up that ground. And of course, December is such a big month for us. But this is overall a report that's pretty good. We're not super happy dancing on the table. That is, we're upside down, but we're under where we thought we would be, and just appreciative of all those who have turned in their pledges and have been giving to help us work through that. And of course, you'll catch there that our worship attendance in person is up as well. So it continues to build that way even through October, which is usually pretty lean. The celebration. So here's the celebration. Is I want you to see this line here on the year to date what called the subtotal here of our giving, our pledge and unpledge, our offering plate. And that is, if you look at the comparison of the total year-to-date actual of 2024, 1.4, and the actual year-to-date of 2023, 1.29, we are actually 9% up over last year. And that's the celebration. That is, our offering plate is up 9% over giving last year at this time. So thank you. Thank you for your generosity and for your just gracious heart in helping our family move forward through this season. Things are building. It's a very exciting time. We are heading into this most holy time of year together, and just really am thankful for that. I celebrate 9% giving increase over last year. Here's the reality. That's the celebration. The reality is, even though we're 9% over giving over what we did last year, we're 5% behind in the budget. You saw that our offering plate is under where we hoped it would be through the end of October. And that just happens, right? 5%, that can happen. Our offering is about $2 million of the budget. Total expenses for the whole year is $5.8 million. So it's an important part, and just need to be aware of that. We're monitoring that. I'm very grateful for our finance team, for David Dreyer, his leadership, our leadership council. These are all very committed, faithful, mature adults who would not go willy-nilly in their own resources at home, and they will not do it with the church either. And so they'll continue to watch that. The staff and the leaders are doing their part. They're underspending the budget to kind of keep that in line. This is why you're seeing it being half of what we expect it to be at this point, but we're keeping a thumb on that. But that's just a part. And so we just ask that you would bear that in mind and would keep us in your prayers. And even if you have a chance to help support that, we would be really grateful for that as we head into the end of the year. Here's the challenge. The challenge is next year, we're already collecting and putting together the budget, and we know what's going to happen with some pieces. Sunday, David Dreyer and I shared with the congregation that we're aiming for a pledge total for 2025 of $1.4 million. That's just a little bit more. We are almost at 1.3 something in 2024. So 2025 it's raised just a little bit. Trying to be mindful of the reality that we just went over and where we're at, just to have a growth goal into that, which we're asking people to participate in that. Here's what we've learned, though. Our property insurance is going up. Our property and liability insurance is going to go up 20% next year, and you know that it's happening at your house, right? This is before they really account for Helene and Milton. This is going to be an interesting ride in Florida with insurance, and we have 2 city blocks of buildings, and so that's a real reality. Our service providers, those who help maintain the elevators, those that do the phone systems, the people that mow the lawn, they have increased their services by 5% next year. You've seen, and this is, I guess, I recently just saw this week, there's some court dealings around this, but up to this week, the federal government had changed the total that organizations had to pay their hourly workers. There's raised the level, the minimum that can be paid to full-time hourly workers. That impact on the budget is $50,000 for next year. That's all that I'm trying to say is all that is more. That's already more than the increase that we're putting into next year's income. And that's before you get to any growth in ministries. That's before you get any growth in like salaries or raises or any of that we're already at overstripped that. And so that's a real challenge. And so we're going to need to be in a season of prayer and discernment about how that works and what God is leading us to do. Next year is a big year. Next year we have our new strategy rolling out. We've spent a year putting that together, and we've talked about that a little bit. That starts out in January. Next year, we're going to head into a capital campaign to talk about of this wonderful facilities that we've been given and how we maintain that coming into the year, as well as some ministry projects. That's a whole year project that involves everybody in the family. It's all hands on deck. And so that's an exciting part. This coming year, we're going to really get into some of the new ministries that are just really starting to burst open. Brain fitness is just starting to really take off, and of course the preschools are going strong, and we're just seeing some excellent work in our service and outreach organization ministries, refugee ministry, Killarney, Jobs Partnership. These are all things that are happening next year. And I just know next year is going to be a tremendous year. It's also our 140th anniversary. This next year is we're going to be 140 years old, which I'm really, really proud of that. And so uh, please pray and pray for your church and what we can do. And please consider joining us in pledging. And pledging is just a promise that, or really a commitment that, this is what you think you're going to give to the church. It helps us plan, but it also helps you have conversation and figure that out. Studies have shown, and I've found this, that we're more generous when we plan. And I want to be a generous person. I think that's part of becoming like Christ, to be a generous person. And so please consider being in conversation or thinking about it. Do some planning about your generosity and sharing that. There is an opportunity for, as you'll see from the presentation, a matching grant from the Marcy Trust. It's not our trust, but they've done a Marcy Trust grant up to $200,000 for every new pledge or every dollar over a previous pledge. So if you didn't officially pledge last year by filling out the form or going online, that would be counted and be matched dollar for dollar. Or if you give, $10 more than last year, or $100 more than last year, or $1,000 more than last year, that would be matched dollar for dollar, and that increase up to 200,000. That's a pretty significant change, and that's a pretty significant game changer for our church. So that's the celebration, that's the reality, and that's the challenge. And I look at that and I say, God is at work, and God is calling us. There's no way forward as a church without some faith and some stepping forward, and there's no way forward if we're just going to withdraw. And there's no way forward if we don't all kind of pull together. And so I see this as a God opportunity, and I'm grateful to have this opportunity to share the journey with you. So happy Thanksgiving, and God bless.